Guys, so I have good news. I passed my CDL road test. So I'm now officially a Class A driver. I'm just gonna go over some things about my road test in this video. And first, I'm gonna say that I'm in Massachusetts, so whatever I say might not apply to wherever you're at. The test format or the rules or whatever, it just might be different. Um, so just keep that in mind. One of those things, actually, we're gonna start talking about now is that I did go to my tests like a month ago, and the way that it's set up here is you have an hour and a half time block, but it's kind of split up in an hour and the half hour. So you have to do the air brakes, the in cab, pre trip, and maneuvers all like, and then have the half hour block to be able to go out on the road. It's okay if you pass the hour by like when you're doing that other stuff, but you have to have that half hour to go out on the road. And it's not technically a fail. It's just you don't have enough time, so you have to book again and come back to go out on the road. Even though the when they take you out on the road, it's only about 15 minutes maybe. But they still want you to have that half hour block for whatever reason. Anyway, so the first time I went, I passed the air brakes, the in cab, pre trip, and maneuvers. That day, I was just like my number one goal. Like I went with the mission to pass the air brakes and the in cab and pre trip because it's technically like one unit. Uh, like the way that they do the grading, so you have to pass those three in order to get that part. Um, and so because 80% of people around here they fail that. So actually before it because before and in most other states, you do the pre-trip, like the in cab and the exterior, you do that first and then you do the air brakes. And here so many people were failing the air brakes that they changed it to do the air brakes first and then go on to the pre-trip or whatever, because if they're gonna fail, like at least they can fail earlier. So anyway, so yeah, I got through that, and then I got through the maneuvers, no problem, whatever. I just ran out of time, and it's not a big deal. Like I said, it's not a fail. You just have to come back. And even like the school, they tell you like, take your time, don't worry about going over the time limit, whatever. And don't come like, at least if you pass the first part or second part too, then you know you you don't come out empty handed, so um yeah, so I was perfectly fine with that. And it kind of worked out too because in that time I still wasn't completely comfortable with like downshifting. And actually that day uh they brought the automatic truck because the manual one, it had some issues. So they ended up bringing it later, like couple hours into the our testing, in case anybody did want to use it on the road. But none of us were, well, one of us would made it to the road, but he was going in the automatic anyway. But none of the rest of us made it to the road. So, but that day, if I made it to the road, if I still had that half hour time block, I would have taken it in the automatic because I was still not comfortable with my downshifting. Like I wasn't consistent with it, whatever. So yeah, so I would have taken it in the automatic that day. But then I would have had to go and like take out the restriction and still come into practice and everything for downshifting and everything. So, it's just kind of better that I just didn't have to even do it that day. So, uh, yeah. So after that, then yeah, I didn't get a test date immediately. I did let my school know that I wanted to come in to do more driving and like, get better at downshifting, more comfortable with it. So they accommodated for me to do that, and I went in and different a different method was shown to me that I really liked. That was bringing the RPMs down to 800 instead of to 1,000, and then that way you only have to give it a little bit of gas instead of like more, like because my foot is just it's just not that heavy. So it was hard for me to go like from 1,000 to like I think it was like 1,400 or something. But anyway, at 800 it was easier for me to get used to the rhythm of revving it just enough to put the gear back in. So That method worked out a lot better for me. And then I was able to become more consistent with it and just kind of go based off the sounds, and and just it just flowed. So yeah, then I got my test date, and then I went in like one or two more times to like both times they gave me my test date. It was about a week before my actual test date. So so yeah, I was able to go in like I think like yeah, one or two more times to go driving and practice. So yeah, I was pretty comfortable with my downshifting by the time I went to my next test. So yeah, they send me the location of the test site, and it was a different location than where I went the first time. This place was like further away. I'm not gonna say the locations and stuff, but if you use your detective skills, you might be able to figure it out by my descriptions of the route, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna go through the whole route, but I am gonna go through one part of it. Actually, maybe two. So, yeah, so I go to my test. There were three of us from my school, and then there was a group of people testing from another school, and they had a different truck, and I this like they had like a smaller trailer. Ours 48 foot. So um um yeah, I was second in line to go in my test. Um I don't know, I really wasn't that nervous, like, cuz the test truck too, like I'd already driven that test truck like several times, and then like I said, I was really comfortable with my downshifting by that point too. That was the main thing. Like I kept thinking to myself, like, there's no reason that I should fail this road test. Like, there's just no reason. Like, there's absolutely nothing. Like, I know how to drive. I know what I'm doing. The only thing that I'm scared of is grinding too much, or like something happening with downshifting. But once I got more comfortable with that, then it was much better. So anyway, yeah, the way things happen, usually you kind of hear through other students or the instructors like kind of what to expect in the route. And you can kind of get an idea how the route is going to be, because I mean there's really only so many roads you can turn down and be back within like 15-20 minutes, so I was familiar with the route. I went through and checked it out. There was one spot that um it's like say this is like a state road kind of, and then like we were coming up through here, and like to go left you stop here and you can turn left there, or you go this way and like loop around and then come back to go this way, and there's like a yield sign here, because these people coming from this way, they're obviously gonna you know be on the road, so you got to yield to them. So anyway, that spot, when you're coming up like that, the speed drops really quick. So we were warned about that, and then there was the yield sign right there. And when I went in my car, I was like, oh yeah, there's plenty of space here, like no big deal, right? And then when I got in the truck, then I'm like I'm going, and then I loop around, like he's like bear right, whatever, blah blah blah. And then I start going around, and then I once I was like in the road and stuff, and I was able to like see like the end of my trailer in the mirror. Like once I was able to see it, then then I was like, oh, that's really fucking close to that yield sign. so yeah, and like I was up on the curb a bit, but like I guess in that area, like that's not really an issue in that area, for different reasons. But yeah, I was a bit scared. But then like I noticed like he wasn't saying nothing, and he didn't look concerned. So I was like, let me just let me just act normal and continue driving. So I just continued driving, and then I was kind of like, okay, well if that's okay, then I'm golden. Like as long as these gears just go the way I want them today, it's all good. So then there's another spot that they're rotaries, and they're the newer rotaries, so they're uh like clear in the middle, like they're kind of like a sidewalk. They're made for trailers to kind of like go on them, and the instructors in our school told us like like your trailer might go up a little bit on the curb, but you know that's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Right? So I get to this rotary, and I start going, and then this car over here, they pull out right in front of me, and the trooper's like, oh, fucking asshole. And like, and so then like at that point I was able to see my the end of my trailer like coming back around, and like this shit was like a foot and a half up on the thing, maybe like 2 feet or something. And I was like, all right, they told me like it might go up a little bit, but that seems like more than a little bit. But there's nothing I can do. Like I think this is the way it's supposed to be, because there's nothing I can do. So then I just continued, and then yeah, there was one point where when he told me to go in the highway, then like I was gonna downshift into seventh because it was like a ramp, like you kind of had to go up, and I wanted to make sure I would get up. And I was gonna downshift into seventh gear, but then I like when I went to do it, I realized that I wasn't going slow enough, and it wouldn't work. So then like when it wouldn't go, then I just popped it back into eighth, and then I was good from there. So yeah, so then I got on the highway, got off the next exit, and then came back again with the rotary thing, and same thing happened. So I was like, okay, this must be normal. So then I went to go back to the yard, and again somebody else pulled out in front of me, and yeah, the trooper was again with made a little comment. But I don't blame him because it is frustrating. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned already, but here the state troopers that do our test, they do have a class A license, so they know what it's like to drive a truck. They know, like, because I heard that in some states the examiners, whoever they are from the RMV or whatever, some of them don't even have a class A license. So I don't know how true that is, but that's just what I heard, and I find that fucking unbelievable. Anyway, so so yeah, so then I went to I was coming to a stop kind of, and the person from this driveway over here, my camera is reversed, by the way, so it might look funny. So I was gonna take the left to go back into the yard, but this person coming out of this driveway over here, they just decided like to just swoop in here and then just come around here. So then I did have to like almost stop. But I was still rolling. So then I was just downshifting to sixth gear, and this was like the third time that I like kind of, it felt like it was gonna stop, but it didn't feel like it was gonna stop. It didn't feel that bad, but it did shudder a little. So but I was like, I didn't stall, so I just kept going, and yeah, when I pulled into the yard, then he was like, "What gear are you in?" You're like, that's the third time you did that. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm in sixth." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you really shouldn't do that, because like if you had a heavy load, you'd stall or whatever." And then he was like, "I'm not gonna get you for it, because you didn't stall." And then like I didn't hear what else he said, because I was trying to like pull the tractor around with the trailer, and it was kind of tight in there. Well, it wasn't that tight. It was just unfamiliar. So I wasn't really listening to what he was saying, but I think probably because, he saw I knew what I was doing, and he could clearly see that I knew how to downshift. I just, chose not to. So, but then I did say that, like, we kind of did learn that you could almost come to a complete stop, and if you didn't stop rolling, because, we train in empty trailers, so, typically if you're still rolling, you can usually get away with going in sixth. It is better if you go in five, but the thing was, I did not want to fuck with that splitter, because there, like, the last two times that I went practice driving, like, so I don't know what happened to me, but for some reason, like, I forgot the splitter. Like, when I was going, like I'd go down into fifth, and then I'd want to go back into sixth, and like, cause I'd pick up speed, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, so that was the only comment that he had, and everything else was good, and that was it. That was how I passed my road test, and now I'm gonna be looking for a job, and And yeah, that's about it. I'll definitely keep updates about like when I start working and stuff though, because I don't know, it sounds fun to be talking about that stuff. So, and then I probably won't be in this room too. So, my background will be different. My dog won't be over here drinking water, hopefully. Well, I don't know. She'll probably be drinking water in my truck or whatever. So, so anyway, yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.